Well, that was depressing. Let's move on to the overflow. All right. So for those of you who are, um, people who watch the podcast, we appreciate you guys coming in and asking us questions. We wanted to start this for the basic idea of getting to the questions that we get, because we get a lot of stuff on Twitter. We got stuff on the Discord server from our patrons, and so on and so forth. And we love this is one thing I think that we do that a lot of other podcasts don't do, is we answer questions weekly, and we answer a lot of questions weekly, and we try to give concise answers to give you guys a good idea of what we think, and rather quickly. And so I wanted to start this to really get this to talk about what's been going on. So for those of you watching this, just to warn you, this overflow is from both podcasts. So there will be entertainment questions mixed in with political questions as well. So I know if you are a fan of one but not the other, all I ask is that you just be patient with us. Again, and to explain something, the reason that we give priority to Twitter is because it lets people who might miss the podcast get a question in and get it answered. And then, of course, the Discord. People in the Discord are patrons, and patrons within the Discord, they're supporting this channel fiscally, and there's that's why we give them priority, or people who put in super chats. So that's just sort of a little perk that we give to them. So let's go ahead and get to this stuff that we missed, and I'm gonna go in no particular order here. Melee Brawler 64 wanted to know our thoughts on Prager University, just in general, I guess.
I like the videos that they put out, to be perfectly honest. I can't say that there's a lot that I've seen out of them that I have disagreed with, but I also haven't gone through their entire repertoire of content either. But what I have seen, I certainly enjoy.
I would say very similarly, or I have a very similar opinion. I have a lot of respect for Dennis Prager. I don't agree with him on a lot of things. I didn't like his logic in the idea of supporting Roy Moore. I didn't like his logic in when it came to supporting Donald Trump. I kind of felt like that his logical belief was kind of hollow. With that said, I understand where he was coming from a spiritual perspective, which is what he was doing in general. But largely, I enjoy Prager University. I think that it's very informative in regards to giving you a lot of information in a very short amount of time. And I think that is on the internet, with people having such short attention spans. I mean, the most I think I've ever seen on my channel on average that people watch a video is 7 minutes long, which is why I try to make mine pretty concise. So they'll just watch the whole thing. And I'll even admit, there are times that I watch videos, and when I'm 5 minutes in, it's all right, I get the general point, I'm going to move on. So I really appreciate what they're doing, because a lot of these ideas are things that need to be discussed. And this is a channel like this is how you will win the culture war. You have legitimate historians, economists, political commentators, and so on and so forth coming in and giving you the skinny on something very quickly in a way that people can really really digest it easily and get the general point. The only thing that I was not a fan of was the what was it? The video on religion and morality. And I felt like that is a video you cannot do in 5 minutes. Because that's
It's a very complex topic.
Yeah, it's incredibly complex. I feel like Dennis's video that he did with, or the debate he did with Michael Shermer, did so much more for the topic than anything else. Not to mention, I don't really feel like in the culture right now that's where we really need to be focusing. We really need to be focusing on making a case for just objective morality in general. But yeah, and I hope they win their lawsuit too. I think that YouTube needs to be sued, or else change is not going to happen.
That's pretty much where it needs to go at this point.
All right. Matchstick7886 asks us, do you think at some point we will go to war with Saudi Arabia because of them funding ISIS? I don't think we would go to war.
It's really difficult to say. If we do, I don't think it would be an outright war. I think it would be a proxy war. Mm-hmm. Effectively, what's going on right now. But I don't think there would be direct armed conflict between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. Keep in mind, we're fairly close economic allies too.
Yes.
We don't. I don't think either of us really wants to be breaking those ties anytime soon. And of course, an armed conflict would certainly break those.
Yes. For me, I am of the opinion that if we go to war with Saudi Arabia, it could trigger World War III. Mm-hmm. And that's something we obviously want to avoid. So
certainly.
No, I think that there are diplomatic ways we could probably get back at them for that. Obviously, sanctions from the U.S. to them. I think that if we started looking to other people to trade with, then we would be able to do so, and then it would maneuver them into a position where we could get them away from that sort of thing. But I think that Saudi Arabia is going to soften on that in the future because they don't want. The fact of the matter is that the closer the Saudis are to us, and they know this, the closer they are to us, the closer they are to Israel, the less power Iran has in the region. And they don't want Iran to have power in the region. So, no. That's something that they are fully aware of at this point. And I have a feeling Trump will find ways to make them regret what they did in the future. And I hope that happens. All right. Let's have a fun one. So let's have a food question. Corvo at AZ. I'm assuming Corvo at Arizona is what that means. But do we prefer hot dogs or tacos?
Hot dogs.
This could be considered a sexual question. I just realized that. Okay, so let me say this, Corvo. If we're talking about women and men, I prefer tacos over hot dogs.
Yes, I too am a heterosexual.
Now, if we're talking about food, it's actually a hard choice for me.
Really?
Yeah, because at home, a hot dog for me is easy. It is, you throw some water in a pot, you get it boiling, you throw a couple dogs in there, you let them cook up, and so that way they're nice, plump, and juicy, and you throw them on a couple of buns, and you put some ketchup on it, and you got a meal. It's like the perfect bachelor food. But as Hat can attest, I love cooking. So
yes, especially tacos. Actually.
Yes, and as Hat did we have tacos when you were here?
Yes,
I don't remember.
we did.
We did. Yes. So as Hat can attest, I make amazing tacos.
Yes, he does. Everything's homemade, even down to the spices.
Mm-hmm. There is a wall of spices literally on my bedroom door, folks. Like that. One of these days, when my apartment's, I'm in the process of cleaning it, and I'm in the midst of like depression struggles. So the fact that I'm cleaning in and of itself is crazy to me. But I will have to do like a tour of the apartment so that people can kind of see how I've got things set up. But because the kitchen is like my that's my favorite room outside of my office. But anyway, so tacos, like I even on occasions I'll chop the lettuce and shred the cheese when I'm really in the mood to do that. Like usually that's during the summer. So like for me, tacos are just much harder to make, but dear God, they taste better. So if I had both meals in front of me already done, I would go for the tacos. If I was the one who made them. So yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, I'm more of a hot dog person. Especially if we're talking about like bratwurst dogs and stuff. But I can't resist it. Give me some hot dogs and chili or bratwurst and sauerkraut, and I'm all over that.
There we go.
Yeah, taco who? Yeah, no.
All right. Let's get back to the political stuff. Most of these are political questions. Star Gundam 007 asked if Iran should crumble, should it be partitioned into smaller states based on demographics? God, that's a tough one. Just because I don't want to argue for an ethno state because I think ethno states are silly.
No.
At the same time,
that basically mean each little sector would be for, oh God, how many different sects of Islam are there prevalent in Iran now?
I don't
like
even
3
know.
or 4?
I think it's 3. Like if you divided it up between 3 nations, and what's going to happen is they're going to go to war with one another.
Yeah, I cannot see the country being divided up and there not being some kind of conflict where one wants, the whole pie.
Yeah. It's not like Syria and Iraq where there's bordering areas that are controlled by one particular group in regards to the Kurds.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that, I don't think. I could be wrong. If I am wrong, then I'm wrong. But let's say I'm right. If it was like that, where there were like areas divided on it, maybe it could work. But it depends on whether or not they're really committed to having peace with one another. And I think that really is the more prevalent thing. Is there has to be a willingness to live next to each other and be neighbors, and acknowledge the fact that they're human, and they're allowed to be different. And that's been the Middle East's biggest problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's a part of where Islam kind of falls apart as a worldview. It's a religion bred for conflict. There was a professor I had in college who used to say that Allah is a god of war, and it's hard to argue against it. It's like, I don't have a case against this at all. I'll admit that. It's like I can't say he's not because of what I've seen. So I guess my best answer, I hate to say this, my best answer is I don't know. I really don't know if I have a solution there.
No, I don't. I think dividing it up into individual states would eventually come back as Iran, like the full or all the lands would come back as one nation, but it would probably be under dictatorial rule.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just based on the conflicts we've seen with Sunni and Shia Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
There's no damn telling, but no, I do not see that being a peaceful solution.
I just, yeah. That's such a. I don't think we could answer that in 5 minutes. So I don't know. That'd have to be a whole nother video. And let's see here. I think that let's see. There's some of these that are. Actually, no. The rest of these are entertainment. Cool. Let's go ahead and go with that then. Hellblazer asks, Thoughts on Rockstar Games and their politically incorrect satire? I love it.
Love it. Love it, and I hope their lawsuit gets dismissed.
Same here. You know, I'm a big fan of most of the games of theirs that I have played. The only thing I don't think I have played is table tennis. So, but yeah, I've played most of the games that they've ever made. My favorite, which I thought was the one that was most dripping with satire, was Grand Theft Auto 4.
Yes, absolutely.
And
even down to the Jack Thompson character.
Oh yes, it was. It was just
I remember
everywhere.
that controversy too. That was great too.
Yeah, it was. That game was something special at the time.
It's still something special. A lot of the satire is still relevant to the current era.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
A lot of it really is. And maybe not like economic stuff, since I think that's what GTA 5 really did better with. But at least as far as like the American dream and immigration and good God. Well, I think most Grand Theft Auto games and how they treat the war on drugs, I guess really that'd just be what 3, 4, and 5 then.
Mm-hmm.
Are really on point with it. Since drugs are in all of them anyway.
Basically. And I understand that sometimes the whole, as Yahtzee Kershaw put it, crime does not pay, lesson can kind of get old, but it's kind of the shtick of stories like that. Like, most of Al Pacino's films have been, crime does not pay. In fact, let me look up, he's one of my favorite actors. I should know this.
Just say Scarface being the biggest one and be done with it.
Yeah, Scarface is the biggest one, but so is The Godfather. Yeah. All the parts of it.
But as far as the crime does not pay motif, I'd say Scarface is the biggest of those.
Well, you look at it. There's also Serpico. Not so much Dick Tracy.
No.
Glenn Ross, but not to him. Not to his character, though. That's an amazing movie. Have you ever seen it?
I don't believe I have.
Oh man, Glenn Ross is probably one of the best dialogue-heavy movies you'll ever watch. And as somebody who was a salesman, I can say it's very accurate. Especially the Patel, Ravanam Patel. How do you expect me to make a mark with these jokers? Money in the mattress. It's not, having dealt with a lot of Indian people in sales, it's not untrue, but it's a cultural thing. It's not a racial thing. I've had the same problem with Northerners, like Northern white people, is they're constantly haggling. So Carlito's Way, the whole 9 yards. So it's a. I think that if anything, it's just a classic American sort of tale, really. But yeah, I freaking love Rockstar Games. I'm really excited for the next Red Dead Redemption Red Dead Redemption 2, isn't it?
Yep.
So I'm really looking forward to that too. Let's see here. And then to close out our one of our resident veterans, one of our mods, Harrison's a veteran too. And I know we have more than that because I kid you not, dude. When I was playing Metal Gear Solid 5, when I first got into Afghanistan, like 4 or 5 people were like, "I hate this country." So, and I've heard so many stories from friends of mine about Afghanistan. It's like I don't know how you mean, but I kind of get what you mean. But Monkey Lint, the first question he had was, do we think that due to SJW interference and pandering and dirty dealing by EA, that the game industry is in risk for another Crash 1983 style?
That is a very difficult question.
Yeah.
1983 style, no. I don't think video games will be essentially relegated to a fad like they were at the time. Because you really have to look at the situation back then. Video games were all over the place. They were exploding, and with no regulation. Yes, when the market crashed, they were essentially treated as a fad that had ended. Now they are making more money than Hollywood. Now they are an industry. There is no way that an industry that large is going to die off in the same sort of fashion. Now, it could be that there would be a significant downturn in the earnings of the gaming industry, but I don't think there would be an outright crash. I don't think that would cause the big three to stop manufacturing consoles. And even if it did, mobile gaming would easily take its place.
Mm-hmm.
Easily. I mean, say what you will about that model, but really that's what would happen if it caused any sort of crash, because the people that would be left over wanting to sustain that model would be doing it via mobile games, and that's really where EA pulled it from.
Yeah,
but no, I don't think it would cause a 83 style crash. Certainly not. Yeah, if anything, it would spark something of a renaissance.
That I think of all the things you just said, I think I agree with that the most. And I think that we're starting to see it. Independent development is starting to become a much more profitable, provided you have a good idea anyway. Like independent development is starting to become much more profitable.
Being a prime example.
Or Shovel Knight.
Yes. Oh God. Yes. Absolutely.
There is a market for that, and it's a very dedicated market. So, yeah, I don't think we're headed there. I think that if anything, the AAA industry is going to be in dire straits maybe a year or two from now. Or at least certain companies will, because of their lack of willingness to pump the brakes on their practices and say this was a bad idea. And this is a problem with I think with American culture in a lot of ways is we're very now me gimme.
Mm-hmm.
And the stock market
I want it now.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Freddie Mercury. Which, oh God, what album was that off of?
Oh God. Oh.
A Piece of Magic, wasn't it? I have it. I have the album. Give me a second.
A kind of magic.
A Kind of Magic. That's it. Yeah. God, that's their best album. But anyway, the big issue is just that they are unwilling to look at the long game. And there are too many game publishers that just have a tendency to hop on trends. And this is a problem in Japan, too. This is what has... Let me put it this way. And I'll sum up my thoughts on this so we can move on to other questions. I think that where Konami is now, EA could be in in 2 years from now.
Mm.
All right. Do we think there's going to be continued SJW pandering in comics and other popular media despite SJW Marvel being scuttled due to terrible sales? Yes, and it will go the exact same way it did with Marvel. Like, this is the only thing that really I would say has made me internet famous is, social justice doesn't sell. That is my main talking point when it comes to market and social justice, and I will talk about it all the time because it's not made to sell. It is made to try to preach. And the problem with social justice is that it takes humanity away from characters in popular media, and that in and of itself is a problem. That's why I couldn't watch Sense8 on Netflix. I thought it was trash. And I like the Wachowskis. I love them. Well, let me dial that back a little. I liked the first Matrix movie. It's a shame there weren't any others.
Oh man, that's my thing. Okay, that's
V for Vendetta was good too, though. I liked V for Vendetta.
All
Even
right,
though they
so
didn't direct, they were the producers.
The Matrix thing, I say that somewhat ironically because, believe it or not, I enjoyed Reloaded and Revolutions, both of them.
I actually last time we talked about this, I went back and rewatched Revolutions, and I still hated it. I still hated it. I'm like, ah. I thought that I don't know. Have you ever played the game Path of Neo?
No, I never had the opportunity to. I always wanted to.
Don't, because it has aged like a banana. But watch the fixed ending of it, and it's hilarious because the Wachowskis really just take the piss out of themselves. They're like, yeah, what we originally did was kind of pretentious, so we're gonna take out Jesus time and we're gonna add the fight you guys really wanted. And it's a fight between Smith and Neo that like actually has a definitive ending to it, and Neo survives. So, but one thing that I do have to say after going back to those movies, God, I find Carrie-Anne Moss more attractive now than I did when I was a teenager. I find that interesting. But then again, I think it's because I have a thing for short-haired women. But,
that, and also she was fairly attractive in Jessica Jones, so
yes. That woman knows how to pick out an outfit. Holy crap. Oh, man. If you guys have not... You don't even have to watch Jessica Jones. You can watch The Defenders. I can speak to that, too. Damn. Holy crap. That woman, man. Just... Whew. Anyway, but yeah, I think that's it's still going to happen. And it's just not going to sell. Right now, we have seen like here in the United States, we have seen a resurgence of the American spirit. You know, you look at football, you look at Marvel, you look at films this year. All of them have really seen massive losses in their sales numbers. And that ultimately is something that works against them. And it's kind of interesting. The Distributist made this point on his channel, or it might have been him or it was somebody else talking about football, and the idea that people always thought like, there will always, there can never be anything that replaces football. And somebody countered the point and said, because this was a stream he was doing on New Year's Eve, people said nothing could ever take the place of boxing, nothing could ever take the place of baseball, and so on and so forth. New things arise. Mixed martial arts has had a really good year this year. So, and you've got a megastar in Conor McGregor. So it's not like there's alternatives. Not to mention it helped that there were people in MMA that spoke out against the NFL doing what they were doing. And you've got Dana White, the president of the UFC, is a hardcore Trump supporter. He's known Donald Trump for years. So, that's the cool thing about the free market, though. There's always other options.
Absolutely.
With Marvel Comics, I have read one book consistently this year. That was Venom. And with DC, I had Deathstroke. That once I read through it, I kept up on everything. Tom King's Batman is really good. What else was there? Red Hood and the Outlaws. Mr. Miracle as well. So that was 4 books that I had from DC this year. I don't like DC nearly as much as I do Marvel. Oh, and I read through Superman, too. So that's 5. I'm not a Superman fan, really. But the current current writing team on Superman is really good. But the big thing that I noticed with DC is that they focused on American values. Batman is getting married. He's found the love of his life in Selena Kyle. He's finally settling down with her, and he's going to get married to her. Here's something that you would never see at Marvel these days. There was an issue of Superman devoted solely to remembering and respecting our veterans. And there's this heartfelt scene where Lois, I believe it honors her uncle who died in the Vietnam War. And it was so good. It was so great. And you wouldn't see that anywhere else. But that's why DC is selling so well. is they're embracing their audience and where they come from and the type of person that reads that comic. And they're making money hand over fist. Their movies obviously can't do the same thing. But when you look at the films, Marvel is embracing their audience and what their audience is looking for. And they're raking in money hand over fist. So, you know, that's basically the long and short of it. Yeah. Well, that's really all I've got. Do you have anything to add on that one, Hatman?
I was going to say, I think the reason why we've even seen this sort of pandering in the first place is because the enthusiast press is just so overwhelmingly dominated with these sorts of ideologues who want to see it. Mm-hmm. And they're the ones that are catching the ears of these comics pros and the higher ups, and basically pushing it on them, saying, "Oh, you know, this is what you need. This is what you need." But it doesn't translate to sales. I mean, when you pander to an audience that makes up, like, at most 1% of the population, you're not going to see sales there. I mean, that's just common economics. I mean, there's nothing wrong with putting diversity in your comics, but there is to pandering to a specific audience, much less an audience that is so minuscule that it's not going to be economically efficient to do so. I mean, like it or not, this is a business. The reason why Marvel had to cancel all those books was because they weren't selling, plain and simple, not because they want to get rid of diverse titles, but because people weren't buying them. I mean, they had their shot. They had their shot in the sun. And what happened? Nobody cared enough to support them. That's the long and short of it. But now we're going to see arguments about, oh, you know, this is why we just need more of them. It needs to be mainstream so people don't have a choice at this point, or capitalism is to blame. I've already seen that one make the rounds, which is just preposterous. But no, of course they're going to double down. Of course you're going to see more pandering, because you're going to see more writers and more artists hired that want to push that stuff, want to push that message. But it's not going to work out for them because, as we know, social justice doesn't sell.
All right. Now let's move on to the final question. Do we think that more unique IPs in fiction can make it to the big screen, or have a television series like William Gibson's Neuromancer? Or are we, and this is Mucculent's words, are we doomed to have more reboot sequelitis gonorrhea AIDS?
Little of both.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. What Hollywood is going to learn right now from this year is that, and I said this in my wrap-up of 2017 video, is that reboots and franchises sell because they are a trusted brand.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same reason that McDonald's is huge. You know, it's a brand, you know, and there's a reason that, like, and it's true of just about everyone. We tend to go towards the familiar whenever it comes to our defaults. You know, like, that's why a lot of people who are gamers play Call of Duty every year. Why that still has such a huge fan base is they know that they want the Call of Duty experience, and they know that to get the Call of Duty experience, they can go to Call of Duty. You know, and that sometimes it's... I met a guy once who's like, yeah, I have an Xbox 360. He's like, you want to come and hang out sometime? I'm like, sure. So I did. The only games he owned were Call of Duty and Battlefront games. Not Battlefront, Battlefield.
Or Battlefield, yeah.
And I'm like, huh. And I asked him, you ever thought about trying Gears of War? And he's like, yeah, I didn't like it. It was a little too different for me. And he was a great guy. So I'm not saying anything bad about him. I just thought to myself, like, that is the casual gamer. But that's also the casual movie fan. That's also the casual... Like, it's like, Infinity War is going to be the biggest movie this year. I expect it to... What is the current box office record? It is Star Wars Episode 7, right?
For domestic?
For domestic.
Yes. I believe it is Force Awakens.
I think Infinity War is going to beat it. I think that Infinity War will become the biggest film of all time.
I think that also depends on the quality of it as well.
Yeah, it's true.
If it gets crap reviews, which I sincerely doubt it will, but if it gets crap reviews, I don't think it's going to do that. But if it gets good reviews, it certainly has the potential. I don't know if I'd make any bets on it yet, but dear Lord.
Well, it definitely has like all of the proper elements to be a super success. It's got the guys who directed Captain America: Civil War and Winter Soldier directing it. You've got Josh Brolin as Thanos, and he's done really well so far. And he's really taking these, between that and Cable, he said he's taking the roles very seriously. He says that they're the biggest roles of his life. This is Josh Brolin saying this. This is a man who has played George W. Bush, the president, in a film before. So that's huge when you think about it. So, but that's the thing, is that these films, these franchises have a level of power, and Hollywood is seeing, okay, all this other stuff we're trying to push, oddly enough, that's social justice oriented, is failing. But the stuff that doesn't have this stuff in it, that's not very political, or even is a little political in the other direction, like with the Captain America movies, are huge films. So where does that leave you? You have to look at it and you have to say, okay, these films are made to make money and to make us all filthy rich. We want to be filthy rich, so let's just do more of that while we figure out the other auteur crap. And that in and of itself is why we are where we are. So I mean, we're not in an age like the 80s. Sorry, that's my phone going off. We're not in an age like the 80s where you can put out Predator and it be a huge success, like something like that. Like, because a lot of newer ideas, it's just really hard to attach people to it because it doesn't fit their personal politics, or it doesn't come across like a big moneymaker. And right now, Hollywood is in it for two things: money and politics. You have anything to add on that one, Hatman? Because I know I just went through a lot of stuff there.
Well, I was just going to read the top 10 domestic grossing movies.
Go for it.
And this is for U.S. And I do have some stuff to say afterwards, so don't jump off after this.
Fair enough.
In order from 1 to 10, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, Avatar, Titanic, Jurassic World, The Avengers, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, The Dark Knight, Rogue One, Beauty and the Beast, that's the 2017 version, and Finding Dory. Of those, 3 are not sequels or of any universe. 2 are original properties. And one of those even is going to be a franchise, and that's Avatar. So there's the only one on there that is wholly original, not a remake, reboot, franchise, sequel, what have you, is Titanic. And the next one that you're going to find on the list there that's not part of any of that is E.T., and that's at number 16. Now, I'm going to drop some truth on y'all. When I was getting my creative writing degree, so when I was back in college, I was surrounded by, at least as far as professors go, people who had works published, people who were connected to publishers, editors. Hell, one of my professors had previously worked for the New Yorker. All of them specifically said, if you have a book that you want to sell gangbusters of, you will not be able to sell it in the current environment unless it is part of a series, because that's what publishers want, because a series guarantees continued revenue, and then they can sell the rights off to Hollywood and everyone makes money. And that's what we've seen in Hollywood. That's what makes money. That's why everyone wants to jump on the damn cinematic universes now. And God help a Dark Universe. Good Lord.
Oh, jeez.
It's basically dead from the starting gun.
Yeah.
But no, that's where the money is. Obviously, you can certainly have original properties that will do well. Create buzz. I mean, look at Get Out, for God's sake.
Mm-hmm.
That movie came out very, very early in 2017, and it still had people talking about it by the end of the year. That rarely happens. I mean, when a movie that came out that early is still, a awards contender, we're talking like Academy Awards, Golden Globes, what have you, that's pretty crazy. But again, just because that can happen doesn't mean it's always going to happen. I mean, it also depends on what kind of movie you make in the first place, if it's interesting enough. I mean, you could absolutely make something that's really, visual, a true vision. Think of Jupiter Ascending, for example. I mean, going back to the Wachowskis. But it's like the plot was all over the place. Yes, absolutely original, but no, it's still not good enough. And that's the thing. The audience has to agree that it is good enough. It's worth their time. It's worth their money. And movie tickets are expensive nowadays. I don't know how many of y'all go out to the movies very often, but I can't much anymore because movie tickets are expensive.
Yeah, that's why I'll stay up. Late for me is technically noon, but I'll stay up, or I'll go to the cheap ass theater and spend $6-7 instead of going to the really nice theater and spending $12.
$6-7 is your cheap ass theater?
I know.
See, so that's way more expensive than even mine. Our cheap ass theater here is $3.
Yeah, see, ours is about $7, and it's still got giant screens and THX sound. So,
see, that's crazy. So yeah, no, the situation is much worse for you. But no, we can see some original stuff, but it's not going to do gangbusters.
No.
So it'll be few and far between, and even then, it'll be really a treat. I think, as far as originality is concerned, original programming is going to be it.
Yeah, that sort of stuff is going to flourish more on Netflix.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Netflix, Hulu's doing original stuff now. Amazon wants to do their original stuff.
Yeah.
Although, so much for transparent, huh? When Disney does their streaming service, I'm sure they're going to start doing some original stuff too. Although I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, my God, honestly, if it was basically in the vein of the Disney Channel original movies, which I don't even know if they're doing anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, yeah, just prepare for a lot of sequels and franchises and reboots.
Yeah, well, that's all the questions. What was that final thing you said you had to say, Hatman?
Well, I said it.
Oh.
That was it, just about the series.
Fair enough. All right, so last thing, just to close this out, guys, we want to that buzzing was actually a Patreon thing. So thank you for those of you who are patrons for being our patrons, and so on and so forth. And of course, keep tabs on this channel, because, and if you have not subscribed to it already and you're just stumbling on this, please do so. This is where the overflow is going to be. Every time, I've already started doing vlogs. Hatman's going to start doing that stuff soon too. So, and not to mention there'll be a little original politically oriented content here as well. So, we appreciate you guys asking the questions again. To close it out, my name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Belvin, also known as the Hat Man.
And we will see you guys next week. Deus Volt.
Deus Volt.